right, and from our colleagues on the other side, that is the radio side, by the way, there's the celebration of World Radio Day. It will be happening on the 13th of this month, that is on Thursday, but I can already see the radio guys have already gotten into that celebratory mood, and I love how Rashid has finished it off. Amesema hakuna kama sisi, yani wao na sisi ndio tuko. I love that. Now we switch gears and get back to Good Morning Kenya. The segment that is on air right now is the health segment, that is Health Check. And today we will be looking at body odor, and specifically we're going to be looking at ways to deal with body odor. We know that body odor is something that mainly could be most people battle with. You know, it may be something that just happens. It's not like someone is not really looking at or have a proper hygiene. Sometimes it just happens. So we want to check and get to see what's the best way to deal with it, how can you tackle it, and so on and so forth. And joining me in studio this morning is one Donald Odongo Okumu. He is a counseling psychologist. So we're going to be looking at the implications mentally, you know, of one having body odor or dealing with body odor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Vivian.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show this morning.
It's a pleasure to have you too. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. Welcome. So now let's look at body odor. When we talk about body odor generally, from your point of view, what is it? What are we looking at?
You said my point of view.
From your point of view. Yeah.
Okay. A body odor, when you're talking about body odor, we are talking about that smell that comes when sweat comes to contact with the surface of your skin, and then it's broken down by bacteria. So what I'm talking about in short is the fact that sweat in itself doesn't smell. Yeah, but when it's broken down by bacteria on your skin, that's when you get that smell that comes from the body. So that smell that comes from the body is what we refer to as body odor. Yes. All
right. So that's the body odor, but it's I feel like it's very diverse. Yeah. You know, there's the sweat, there could be the feet, there could be the oral, and we can't look at all of that at the same time. It needs to be broken down. So let's go with the one that you're talking about. That is the body odor, whereby your body just kind of smells maybe from the sweat and whatnot. So what could be the cause? That.
I talked about body odor. Maybe I just talked about the surface of the body. Okay, maybe we can get into that and try to see the implication that has on one's well-being in terms of physical and as well mental. When we are talking about the causes, first of all, we just have to understand the basic things about body odor. And when you're talking about the contact of sweat with the skin, then that's the number one cause. So we've got to understand what sweat really is. And when you're talking about sweat, we could be talking about sweat glands. Maybe these are some of the things that people who hated biology would not love to hear. When we're talking about sweat glands, we're talking about two things. The sweat glands that secrete only water, and that's found all over the body. And then there's the sweat glands that secrete even proteins and some solid elements that are found in those corners of your body. And we're talking about maybe the armpit, we're talking about the groin, the genital area, and the things like that. And then it is the sweat glands that secrete the solid bits of sweat that are liked by the bacteria to be broken down. And when they are broken down, we are talking about that odor, that smell that comes from the broken down solid items of the sweat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there foods or particular drinks that may be aiding you know, the body odor?
Yeah. So looking at the further details, we are talking about, so I've talked about sweat, which is water, salt, fat, that is secreted by the body, and then it gets into contact with the bacteria on the surface of your skin, and then that bacteria breaks that down to bring that aspect of odor. So we can be talking about food, and when we're talking about food, there is this common saying that you're what you eat. So in this context, it can also make sense that you are what you eat in terms of the food that you eat, whatever it is rich in, will determine the kind of smell that will come from your body. So when you take food that is rich in, let me say, ammonium or sulfur, things like garlic, onions, cabbage, broccoli, there's a high likelihood that when it's not broken down well in your body, there's a chance that be felt when your sweat comes to contact with the bacteria on your skin. At some point when you're talking about beverages, we can think about alcohol. We can also think about coffee as also one of the causes of that foul smell. Yes. Yeah. So when eating is not done in regulation, then there's that chance that what you eat will come out in terms of smell when you sweat.
Yeah, so it could also be from what you're putting inside your body, you know, in terms of what you're drinking, what you're eating. You know, for some people, as I mentioned when I was beginning, it's not like they have bad hygiene habits. You know, someone may be showering regularly, you know, even twice a day, at least twice a day. Someone may be using deo, you know, they just have a good hygiene, you know, routine, but still suffer from body odor. Like for someone like that, like what would you advise, or what could be the reason really? Because now you are following all these steps that everyone else is following, but still, so you are following a strict hygiene routine, number one, but then still you're looking at bad body odor. Then we could be talking about some other underlying conditions. There could be some underlying health conditions that are associated with that body odor. Maybe not something so strange or something so huge, but something as simple as maybe have you shaved your armpits? Do you have the hair in your groin area shaved? And something like that, because it is in that hair that the bacteria likes to thrive in. So when sweat comes into contact with your skin, it doesn't evaporate quickly as compared to when you have your body clean. So when the sweat stays for long without evaporation, then there is a chance that it interacts more with the bacteria, and then the bacteria breaks it down, and then it becomes odor. So when we are talking about that, we could be looking at maybe an underlying physical condition that can only be concluded or maybe diagnosed when some specific blood works are done. Yes. So it could not just be a solely hygiene issue, but it also cuts across health, underlying conditions. At some point, you could also be talking about some mental conditions that can lead to or that can predispose you to that aspect of body odor. Yeah. There's a misconception, I don't know if you've heard about it. Some people say that ni damu inanuka. Could you debunk that, or what would you say about that?
Scientifically, I haven't heard about damu inanuka. I haven't heard about damu inanuka, and at some point we could be talking about contaminated blood, the one that becomes pus. That's what we can be talking about as that which smells, or that which has an infection. So if it has an infection, there is a high likelihood that it will have some smell. But generally, blood under normal circumstances, every other factor held constant, doesn't smell.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Is there a correlation or a connection between body odor and stress and anxiety?
Yes, there is a very close correlation between body odor, stress, and anxiety. Because when we are talking about anxiety, we can be talking about some of the things. Okay, in mental health in general, we can be talking about things that we call psychosomatic symptoms.
Okay, can you explain what that is?
Yes, psycho psyche, not the psycho that we usually talk about. But when you're talking about psycho, we are talking about the mind. When you're talking about the soma, we are talking about the body.
Okay.
So there are symptoms that are connected to the mind, but can be felt on the physical bit of view. So when we are looking at the psychosomatic aspects, when somebody is stressed, for example, when somebody is anxious, there's a tendency that they sweat a lot. Yeah. When they sweat a lot, that aspect of being in public becomes a little uncomfortable for them. And then when it's uncomfortable, then it means that they will avoid as much as they can these social settings. They will avoid gatherings. They will avoid going to places that will need them to interact with others, maybe at close range. So at some point, there's the aspect of you asked about anxiety and stress, but I think I should also talk about depression. I should also talk about some other mental illnesses. But when we're talking about depression, when somebody is depressed, there's that aspect of low motivation. So when you are not motivated to get anything done, or you're just lethargic, you don't have the energy to get anything started, then it means there is a high likelihood that you'll neglect the aspect of personal hygiene. And then when you neglect that aspect of personal hygiene, then that will mean you are putting yourself at a very high risk of having this body odor. Then there are people who have that which we call dysmorphia or body dysmorphic disorder, that aspect of obsession with perceived flaws. Yeah, you just have an aspect of I think I look like this, or I think I smell like this. Then people are likely to view me in a particular way. So what will I do to compensate, or maybe as a defense mechanism? I will try as much as I can to hide. Yeah, I to hide that. Maybe I disguise it with grooming. I overgroom. At some point, I try as much to avoid to use maybe deodorants, to overuse them, maybe that which becomes uncomfortable to the people around you, just in the name of you are perceiving a specific flaw on you. So then there are some other mental illnesses. Maybe depression is one of them, but when you're talking about schizophrenia, for example, schizophrenia is a mental illness that interferes with how you relate with the reality, or how you interact with the reality. So there's that disordered relationship with the reality that you have, and at some point it can come in very many forms. And then when we are talking about this specific form, we could be talking about maybe an olfactory perspective. We are talking about smell. So that which interferes with you, with how you smell or how you feel the things around you. So when it interferes with the smell, you can imagine that you're smelling some particular way, but you're not. Yeah, but then when that comes, it means there's a chance, or there's a likelihood that you are going to overdo some of the things to compensate for that which you've perceived. Yes. So those are some of the things that we can be talking about when we're talking about mental health, stress, anxiety, depression, dysmorphia, schizophrenia, and all that.
You've talked about that the body odor could be some form of some underlying medical issues, some underlying issues. Maybe can you mention some of the issues that just come to mind that may be connected with that? Yeah,
so I've talked about the mental disorders, or the mental illnesses that we're talking about when you're looking at it. But there's a condition called hyperhidrosis. So hyper means higher or high, then hydro means water. So hyperhidrosis is excessive sweating, whereby you sweat a lot, maybe in your palms, you sweat in your sole, any part of your body, groin, armpit, every other part of your body sweats a lot. That could be a condition that could lead to that aspect of body odor. At some point, we could be talking about these other lifestyle diseases like diabetes. When you're talking about diabetes, there's the change in your body sugars and things like that, how they are broken down and how it interacts with your system. It just changes totally. You could be talking about gout. When we are talking about these physical illnesses, what we need to have in our minds is that aspect of hormonal changes. And then the hormonal changes, at some point, it doesn't have to be a disorder, or it doesn't have to be an illness for it to cause this aspect of body odor. Something interesting is even the fact that for women during their ovulation stage, there is a change in their odor, yeah, to attract a mate. Yeah, so you see that aspect of change, that hormonal change that happens when somebody is ovulating. There's the very huge hormonal changes that happen when somebody approaches menopause or something like that. Yeah, there are also just the bodily changes or the bodily adjustments that come with age. As you advance in age, probably as an adolescent, as a youth, as you start to maybe experience some other metabolic processes that you are not used to when you were younger, there is that aspect of change that, when not well embraced, can lead to changes in your hygiene routines. And then when you don't do it well, there's a chance that your body odor will not be at its best. Yes.
Yeah. What's the best way to go about managing this now?
Naturally, when it's not something that is pathological, we could be talking about managing it in terms of observing a keen hygiene routine, yeah, ensuring that all the unnecessary hair, especially in those corners of your bodies, shaved, number one. Then number two, we could be using some antibacterial soap, yeah, or maybe some antibacterial detergents that ensures that it gets rid of the bacteria on the surface of your skin. Then at some point, we can also be talking about these deodorants. Yeah, deodorants can also help to cover up for that bad smell, that foul smell, maybe by some act by covering the sweat pores, the pores on your skin and things like that. We can also be talking about antiperspirants. Yeah, antiperspirants can also help because they have maybe some content of aluminium, and then that aluminium acts by preventing sweating, a lot of sweating. So those are some of the ways of dealing with it. And then when you're talking about these other physical and mental illnesses, we can be talking about ways of managing. So just having that mastery of yourself, being comfortable under your skin, and then trying to understand what are some of the situations or circumstances that cause stress. What are some of the circumstances that make me feel some particular way, and then how do I do it? Maybe at some point you just ensure that you take a bath from time to time, you avoid those intensive activities, and then after that you don't do anything about your hygiene and things like that. The things that will make you feel uncomfortable, maybe in a social gathering and things like that, you try as much to strike a balance between your hygiene and your engagement in the activities that will make you to sweat or to engage or to be physically active and things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there natural remedies that you would talk about?
Natural remedies, I think the one that comes off my mind is just to be able to manage stress, for example, be able to manage anxiety. Just master yourself without using anything else, but just have that mastery of yourself and get to know what exactly happens to you in some specific circumstances. Yes.
All right. And having any kind of body odor, of course, makes one feel embarrassed around people, you know, most often than not. So what's the best way, you know, from just the perspective of a counseling psychologist, what's the best way to cope with this kind of embarrassment? Yeah.
So first of all, you are not able to deal with what happens to you when you're already there. So what it means, you have to have some aspect of, I'd call it prerequisite preparation when you are dealing with maybe people in a social setup. So when you know maybe you are going to a situation that will make you anxious in some way, if you have mastered that these are the things that make me anxious, these are the things that make me feel some particular way, when you have that understanding or when you have that knowledge, it best prepares you. When we are talking about maybe getting ready to get something done, at least you are able to think about, you are able to foretell what is going to happen and how is it going to look like? What am I going to do in this perspective? If this presents to me, how am I going to handle it and something like that? So getting to deal with it and getting to understand yourself, because at some point you just understand, but then there are things that you cannot deal with instantly. For example, social anxiety, or maybe some people suffer from what we call selective mutism. So when you are able to address this underlying condition before maybe placing yourself in a situation that will make you uncomfortable, the better for you. So you need to understand and address some of these issues that you have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe just what's the best way to go about challenging the negative thoughts that one may have on self-consciousness? You know, there's something you had touched on at the beginning whereby you said someone may be overthinking about it, so you try and overdo. You know, so maybe what's the best way to just deal with that, challenging that negative thought and self-consciousness?
Yeah, it calls for a lot of scrutiny, and you have to dissect yourself thoroughly, I'd say that. And that aspect of dissection may not be able to come from you as an individual, but then from maybe somebody else who has maybe that professional background to help you deal with this aspect of mastering yourself, having this mastery of yourself and getting to know, these are my weaknesses, these are my strengths, these are the things that I can do, these are the things I cannot do, and things like that. Then it well prepares you to get to know how are these things connected in terms of making the whole of me. And then how do I deal with some of these issues? How do I work with my weaknesses? Because no average person has no weakness.
Yeah.
Everybody has a strength. How do I work with my strengths? Maybe to cover up for my weaknesses. My weaknesses don't have to show every other time. I don't have to maybe put myself in situations that my weaknesses are put to test and things like that. So it calls for an aspect of understanding, and then that understanding, it can best come from maybe peer groups, or maybe your friends. It can come from a professional, it can come from whatever source, but then if you have it, then you're good to go. Yes.
Yeah. And you know, humans are social beings.
Sure.
You know, no man is really an island. So maybe what are some of the strategies that one can use to prevent, you know, them having body odor or any body odor of that kind, you know, from affecting their relationships with other people? Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to interactions, yes, there is that bit of discomfort that comes when you are actually having that odor, or maybe you're perceiving that you're having that odor. So there is that aspect that comes with it. So the first thing is to get to understand your body, master your body. I can't overemphasize that. You have to understand your body. And then when you have this understanding of your body and how it reacts to situations, how it reacts to circumstances, just know that you are able to interact with people positively. The other thing is to observe what you eat. Like I said, you are what you eat. Don't take a lot of food that is rich in sulfur, with the ammonium products and things like that, that will bring that pungent smell, that rotten egg smell, and something like that. Ensure that you observe good hygiene. Hygiene is also very paramount. And from time to time, you can use deodorants, you can use the detergents that are antibacterial, you can use the antiperspirants. You can also ensure that when it persists, because these are things that can be dealt with naturally, but when it persists, you can as well have maybe contact with a healthcare provider. You can look for help in terms of maybe a medical perspective. Yes.
All right. Can body odor, you know, be an unconscious reaction to stress?
Yes. I don't know whether by unconscious you mean it's something that just when you're talking about body odor as an unconscious way of probably
a reaction to maybe one's emotional stress, or
Yes, it could be conscious, it could be unconscious, because there are some things that we'll just see. When you're stressed, there's just that aspect of somatic change, or there's that aspect of physical change that comes. You're stressed, maybe you don't have the energy to get anything done, so maybe you neglect your hygiene, you become, maybe you overindulge in eating specific food and things like that, and then the specific food is what probably predisposes you to maybe this aspect of body odor and things like that. So it could be conscious, it could be unconscious, but then when you understand that where is it coming from, where is my odor coming from, or where is my stress coming from, then you are able to handle it. But one thing that we all should know is that all of us are wired differently. And then that difference means that we are not able to react to situations the same way. The way your body reacts to stress is different from the way my body reacts to stress, because one fact is that everybody has to handle stress in their daily interactions. Yes. So,
yeah. Okay. Maybe what role do the surroundings play, and by surroundings I'm also talking about what role do the people around someone who may be struggling with body odor, what role do they play in this?
So the people surrounding, in terms of the people you interact with on a daily basis, maybe friends, family members, friends, or maybe colleagues and things like that. The people you interact with can at some point evoke stress to a certain degree. If, for example, something that can stress somebody, I know this is funny, but when somebody calls me by my full name, especially people that I'm used to, people who know me well, when they call me by my full name, then I'm like, oh, okay, so what are you up to?
It comes as a shocker.
Yes, so it makes me feel some type of way. So you can imagine, if these are the people that I'm used to, imagine that's your boss and now calling you, and you're going to interact with your boss and things like that. And then maybe your friends, maybe people that you are well acquainted to, they are calling you with that specific name, or maybe that particular way. So when we are looking at it from that perspective, the people that you interact with can make your body react in a different way, because when you're feeling anxious, maybe interacting with maybe somebody who's very prominent, and you feel maybe too little to interact with this person, there is that aspect of anxiety that comes. And then when the anxiety comes, there are some those somatic symptoms that we can be talking about, the sweating, the stomach rumbling, and the things like that. So it's true that the interactions that you have with the people around you can at some point make you react in a certain way, make your body feel some type of way, and then that feeling can make you sweat, and then that sweat is what may lead to that odor. Yeah.
But now I also want to get your perspective on now the role of the people that you normally just interact with on a daily, maybe your family members and your friends, and you are you're self-conscious about your odor. So maybe just what role do they have to play, in ensuring that you also just your relationships remain intact still.
So they play a very huge role, I can say, because at some point the way that you view yourself is as a result of what somebody tells you. At some point you may realize that the feedback that the people tell, especially maybe when you're talking about romantic partners, for example, are the kind of feedback that they tell you are likely to stick with you for the rest of your life. Somebody tells you, hey, when you sweat, nobody can ever stay around you. And then that's something that can really stick with you, and it can really hit your self-esteem badly. And then your self-confidence just goes down like that. So the people that you interact with can maybe make you feel better, or maybe make you feel comfortable under your skin, or they can make you feel uncomfortable. They can support, they can stigmatize, they can victimize, and they can do all sorts of things, negative and positive. Yes.
Yeah. All right. How can one balance self-care routines, you know? And by this, I'm looking at hygiene, you know, as well as diet and all of that. How can one balance, you know, self-care routines with managing any psychological effects of body odor?
Yeah. Actually, I'd not say it's a one-size-fits-all, but when we are looking at it, we can be talking about these basic things. Just go back to the basics. Just ensure that you are hygienic. Ensure that you're taking a bath. Because nobody is going to tell you that when you wake up in the morning, get this done and things like that. And those are not very expensive things. They are not things that are out of the ordinary, because I can imagine that even if you cannot be able to afford water or whatever it is, there are some ways that you can really think about how do you take care of your hygiene, and then how do you ensure that you balance the physical activities that make you sweat with ensuring that you follow or you stick to your hygiene routines. From time to time, do you have maybe these deodorants? Do you have maybe these antibacterial soaps? Do you ensure that what you take in is well balanced in such a manner that it doesn't have much of what we are talking about when we mentioned something on what you eat comes out, maybe in terms of the order that you get. At some point, hygiene, something as basic as having your teeth brushed, good oral hygiene, just ensuring that you have everything in check. Those are some of the basic things that will make you to start feeling comfortable. And then that triple effect that even goes to how you interact with others, how you view yourself. And then if you have this positive view of yourself, then it means you'll have positive interactions with the people around you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe still on that note, maybe how is one able to improve their self-esteem generally? Yeah. So
improving your self-esteem means it's something that is not so good. Yeah. When your self-esteem is not so good, first of all, it begins with accepting, and then that acceptance comes with a bit of understanding that this is who I am, and I don't have to beat myself so hard. And then you get to ask yourself, even if you beat yourself so hard for the esteem issues that you have or some of the things that happen to you, then are you able to really make it better? Yeah. Will you make it better, or will it become worse? What do you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable, yeah, in that which you do? And then how do you embrace the weaknesses that you have? And then trying to understand that in as much as you have your own weaknesses, you have your own flaws, there are aspects of strength in you, and then there are opportunities for you to grow. There are things that you can do, and then what I like to say is the fact that you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. So having that understanding that you are only human and you have your limitations, you have your flaws, you have things like that. You have limitations. You cannot be able to be a macho man, a macho woman. You cannot be able to have everything figured out. Having that acceptance is one of the things that will set you up to deal with maybe esteem issues that you could be having. At some point, the kind of people that you keep around you. At some point, just one word, you know, a word that somebody throws at you will determine what happens to you in terms of how you perceive yourself. Sometimes somebody just says something. It's like maybe taking a stone and then dropping it in the ocean. You don't know how deep it goes and something like that. Yeah. So the people that you have around you, if there are people that can support you and bring the best version of you, that's good for you. And then that helps you to interact with people from a positive perspective, not having to think a lot about what you look like, what you smell like, what people perceive of you, and things like that. So ensure that you have maybe people who support you in a way that helps you grow and become the better version of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. As we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, I believe this is almost related to what you're talking about, but just how to work around guilt. You know, how to work around guilt, how to work around shame. Yeah.
Yeah. So guilt and shame, depending on what causes it. When we're talking about guilt, when you're talking about shame, it could be as a result of some psychosocial issues. Maybe you feel guilty because somebody told you you do something in some particular way, you talk in some particular way, or maybe you perceive the environment in some particular way. Then you could be guilty, or you could be too cautious when you are doing that specific thing, and then you feel there is that aspect of shame. What picture am I really painting to the people around me? What am I really talking about when we are talking when we are looking at my interactions with other people? Then the only place that I can feel comfortable is a place where I am by myself. I am alone. And then, like you said, we are social beings and things like that. So when you are feeling guilty, it's good for you to understand where is it coming from. What is the underlying cause? What really makes you feel that aspect of guilt? At some point, it could not be as a result of your social interactions. It could be as a result of some of the things that you experience. Probably a loss of a loved one. You could be talking about the issue of death, maybe just thinking about something so much that it interferes with even the confidence that you have in you. Then it means that shame or that guilt could be coming from that perspective. So the best thing is to understand, and then maybe hook yourself with help. Hook yourself with a support group. Doesn't have to be a professional. It could be just a friend who listens to you, somebody who helps you to understand yourself and really get comfortable with who you are, and also embrace the fact that you can change and you can get something done to make yourself better.
All right. Yeah. On to my last question now. For someone who's, maybe battling with recurring body odor, or let me not call it recurring, let me use the word chronic, chronic body odor, they've been battling with it. It's not like they don't look after themselves. They do all the things that you've been doing. So you advise that they go see a medical professional? Yes,
yes, they go see a medical professional so that it is known, or it is clear whether it is something that is physical. Is it something that has to do with maybe an underlying physical condition, or is it something that has to do with a psychological condition? So there's that difference that will only become clearer when you're able to handle that from a professional perspective. Yes.
All right. There's a question that has just come in. Allow me to pose it to you before we close. Okay. So someone says they have a friend who has not married despite the ripe age. He told me he has a problem of rumbling stomach whenever he gets close to a lady of his choice. Okay, I'm just reading it right now as it's come in. So he has a problem of rumbling stomach whenever he gets close to a lady of his choice. At times he sweats and his armpits produces a bad odor a lot when he has a meetup with a lady. Is this a psychosocial issue, or it will fade away with time? Is there any remedy to such a situation?
Yeah, so from that question, I think all the things, or all the explanation are ticking all the boxes for anxiety. Yeah, that could be an aspect of anxiety that can only be handled through proper psychotherapy. And because it is something that you see, something as basic as it interferes with his social life. Yeah, because you are not human, you are not fully human until you have a social aspect of you. So because it interferes with the social life, then we are talking about that aspect of there is an underlying psychological condition. There is a problem that should be addressed. So what can happen in terms of remedy? Let him get help from a professional. Yeah. Let him go for therapy first, and then from that therapy, he can be able to figure out whether there is anything that is underlying that is physical, so that maybe he can go see a physician or something like that.
Okay, yes. So it is it could be a psychosocial issue.
Yes, yeah. And specifically what I'm thinking about, this is just my thought, my point of view again. Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Yes.
All right, your final remarks in the fewest of words.
What I can say is that get to understand yourself, get to master yourself, because nobody is going to help you to do the most basic of things when it comes to taking care of yourself. Good hygiene, good food, good clothing. Just ensure that you are comfortable under your skin, understand yourself, interact with the right people, and ensure that you are having the best for yourself when it comes to growth and feeling comfortable in social settings.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so very much for joining us for this conversation. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
I'm so happy.
All right. Yeah. That was Donald Odongo Okumu. He is a counseling psychologist. And this is where we end this conversation as well as Good Morning Kenya for today. On behalf of everyone who has made this a success, we want to wish you a lovely day and do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.